Hello, YouTube. One of my keen interests in ancient civilizations is Central Asia and fascinating research that has been done there by archaeologists, mostly unknown in the West, by the way. And the conquest of Alexander the Great are also of a special interest to me, but I sometimes see connections that very few people do between civilizations at different edges of the world. So let me start with this. The Amu Darya treasure, or the treasure of the Oxus, is a collection of gold and silver objects of the 4th through 2nd centuries before Common Era. It was found in 1877 on the territory of modern Tajikistan. In ancient times, it was Bactria. It is kept in the British Museum. It is a collection of about 180 surviving pieces of metalwork in gold and silver, most relatively small, and around 200 coins from the Achaemenid Persian period, which were found by Oxus River, or Amu Darya, as we call it. You see the reflection of the traditions of Achaemenid art, local Greco-Bactrian art, and the art of the so-called the Scythian animal style, dating back to the nomadic world, including the Central Asian steppes, plains, savanna. The incredible Amu Darya treasure, it's from the time, like I said, of the rulers of the Achaemenid Empire between the 6th and 4th centuries before Common Era, according to some descriptions. As you can see, there are different dates that are given, but more or less around the same historical time. That very first Persian Empire was the power of fire worshippers, enemies of classical Hellas or Greece. We have basically little idea what the world of those conquerors looked like, but looking at the items from the treasure, it's a chance to clarify the picture. What's interesting among the items, you can see a brooch or pendant with a fantastic beast. There was also a large chariot with rotating wheels. You can see also a strange creature, big-eared, very, very big-eared. Fiends or devils are grinning from it. A luxurious bracelet that used to be studded with precious stones, but it's also impressive in a stripped form. Also a single-word chariot that has lost its wheels, or was it a sled? With a very energetic driver. There's a hollow fish of unknown purpose, and about 170 more bizarre items. The treasure consists of miniature models of horse carts, figurines of animals and people, bracelets, rings, coins, jugs, pendants, and personal belongings. This is the most famous collection of gold and silver items from the Achaemenid era. Items from the treasure form the basis for the study of the Achaemenid gold, and they can trace the traditions of Persian and Greco-Bactrian art, as well as I said, the Scythian animal style. That Achaemenid Empire was destroyed by Alexander the Great. The treasure was evidently discovered by local people somewhere on the north bank of Amu Darya River in what is today's Tajikistan, but in 1870s it was the Emirate of Bukhara, which was in the process of being swallowed up by the Russian Empire, as the British described the events, in envy, I'm sure, as they would have wanted to swallow the territory just like in India and South Africa and elsewhere they did. At that time, as now, the south bank of the Amu Darya was Afghanistan. At the period when the treasure originated, the whole area was part of the Persian Empire. The approximate area of discovery is fairly clear. It was near, perhaps, some 3 miles south of Takhti Sangin, where an important temple was excavated by Soviet archaeologists in the 20th century, producing a large number of finds of metalwork and other objects, which seem to have been deposited from about 300 before Common Era to as late as the 3rd century Common Era. While it is tempting to connect the temple and the treasure, as some scholars have proposed, the range of objects found and a founding date for the temple proposed by the excavators, so to say, to be about 300 before Common Era, do not neatly match up. The area was a major ancient crossing point for Amu Darya, and the treasure may have come from further afield, much further. The first mention in print of the treasure was an article in a Russian newspaper in 1880. It was written by a Russian general who in 1879 was in the area inquiring into the Trans-Caspian railway that the Russians had just begun to construct. He recounted that the local reports said that the treasure had been found in the ruins of an ancient fort called Takht-i-Kuwad. And later, the treasure was sold to Indian merchants. A later report by Sir Alexander Cunningham, the British general and archaeologist, who was the first director of the Archaeological Survey of India, and I mentioned them quite a lot in my other videos about India, described the finds, which he said began in 1877, as being in the river itself, scattered about in the sands of the river, in a place exposed to the dry season, though another account he later gave, based on new information, somewhat confused the issue. Major General Cunningham, head of the Archaeological Service in India, believed that the found items belonged to a noble Bactrian family. In his opinion, one of its representatives was forced to leave the house during the troubled time of the war between Antiochus III and Euthymidus I, taking with him all the most valuable things. Dangers forced him to hide precious things and coins, and he no longer returned for them. But researcher Gershman believed that somewhere on the left bank of the Amu Darya there was a temple of the Iranian goddess Anahita. Therefore, he considered the Amu Darya treasures as ritual offerings of believers. When the army of Alexander the Great approached the temple in 329 before Common Era, the treasury was taken out of the temple and buried. Well, the exact location of the treasure is not known, but it is assumed that it was found between 1876 and 1880 at the source of the Amu Darya in the ancient settlement of Takhti Sangin, modern Tajikistan, the historical region of Bactria. Probably the origin of the treasure is connected with the temple of the god of this river, which was located there. Again, presumably in 1877, it was bought by a caravan of merchants from India, I take it. On the way from Kabul to Peshawar, the merchants were captured by bandits who stole the treasure. The merchants were rescued from captivity by the political representative of the British Empire in Afghanistan, Captain Francis Charles Burton, who later helped them return the treasure itself. As a token of gratitude, they sold him one of the 2 paired bracelets. And then the merchants went to Rawalpindi to sell the rest of the treasure there. Most of the items from the treasure were sold in the Bazaar of British India, that's modern Pakistan. The artifacts were tracked down and put together by the English antiquarian Augustus Wollstonecraft, who bequeathed his collection to the British Museum in 1897. He named the treasure after the ancient Greek name of the river Amu Darya, Oxus. Currently, all the items are in London in the Victoria and Albert Museum, a smaller part, and in the British Museum, where the collection has been on display since June 2007 in Hall 52. I'm not sure if this is still the case, but this is what I had a short time ago. It might have changed. What I want you to do is look at the item in the photo before the very last one and compare it with the item from Latin America. The Ethnological Museum in Berlin, Germany, houses a platinum mask that was created between 200 before Common Era and between the year 200 before Common Era and 800 before Common Era. And it originates from La Tolita, Ecuador, and it belongs to the Tumaco La Tolita culture. I find quite a similarity between two items. I think it's the same being that is depicted in ancient Central Asia and ancient Latin America. To me, it proves that there were connections and ties and communications between ancient civilizations, and I have often mentioned it in my work. I also saw a very interesting ancient mace from Bactria, and when I compared it to the maces from South America, it's an incredible likeness, but I need to look more for those notes. I do quite a lot of research, and this is not my primary area of interest in Central Asia. Like I said, the times of Alexander the Great and discoveries made after archaeologists started looking for remnants of his stay there. And I've mentioned before some of the objects I have been looking at. So that's what I wanted to let you know today. And maybe archaeologists will also find a connection between ancient civilizations of different continents of our planet. This is what I wanted to let you know, and if you can support my research, you can do so through the links you will find in the description to this video. And please tell others about my work. Please like my videos and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, and I'm sure to bring you more videos of interest about ancient civilizations.